is over for Donald Trump. And if you don't believe me, ask a MAGA Republican. Ask a MAGA Republican like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie in Congress, currently calling out Donald Trump and holding him accountable for his Epstein scandal. Ask a MAGA Republican contributing to Donald Trump's historically low popularity. And ask a MAGA Republican on Donald Trump's safe space, Truth Social, where he is being ripped to shreds tonight after a post he made around this Epstein scandal has completely backfired. We are going to get into it all, and I promise you're going to enjoy it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the post Trump made and why MAGA is turning on him and it is so badly backfiring, I want to start with two Democrats who called out Trump over Epstein. That's Jasmine Crockett and Gavin Newsom.
You see, the president doesn't want you to focus on things such as his involvement with the Epstein files. You see, the president doesn't want you to focus on things that he promised on the campaign trail, such as to lower costs for the American people. The president doesn't want you to focus on his failed secretary of HHS and the fact that we know almost 100 children thus far have died from something like measles. He doesn't want you to focus on the things that truly matter to the American people that are trying to survive now. Instead, again, he wants to divide and distract. So let me be clear. We are not going to allow them to whitewash this. In fact, the leader was very thoughtful when he decided to put together this team. All of us know a little something about the law because we've all practiced law. And we are going to make sure that the American people get the truth, no matter how many lies they put out there. On January 6th, Donald Trump not only incited the attack, he doubled down by pardoning those violent insurrectionists. And when did he do that? On his very first day in office.
I don't do drawings, but I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women.
Powerful words from Jasmine Crockett and a very powerful video there from Gavin Newsom. The trolling from the Newsom Twitter accounts really has not ceased. But this is a hysterical argument to me. It's laughable, even though it is accompanied a disgusting defense of Donald Trump. But to suggest that your gotcha, your retort, your cover-up of your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is to say, well, I don't draw photos, is laughable to me. That is how Donald Trump and Carolyn Levitt are trying to spin this all, saying, that's not Donald Trump's signature. It only looks exactly like it and was signed by him. Nice try, liberal. And this defense extended farther than just the lies of Caroline Levitt. It's also Eric Trump right here before we get the MAGA reaction to this disastrous day for Trump.
In the world, but Mike Johnson is like walking back. Last week he said, he was an FBI asset in the whole prosecution of this. Then he tried to walk it back. So this is like the dumbest thing in the world.
I can tell you my father does not sketch out cartoon drawings. I mean, it's insane. Not to mention Epstein's lawyer said he asked specifically about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump never once came up, and there was no correlation. And it's ironic, given that my father was the very guy that threw him out of the club because he thought he was a scumbag. My father's intuition was actually incredibly right.
I always say this, and I think it has to be reiterated again and again and again. If you are a Republican, Donald Trump, especially J.D. Vance, Carolyn Levitt, Eric Trump, obviously, they think you're stupid. They think you're gullible. They think you'll buy any of their BS as long as they serve it to you with a wink, a nod, and a smile. They think that you are an idiot. And largely, yeah, MAGA is stupid. They fall for it all. But this is a unique exception where that is not the case. Donald Trump said he was suing Rupert Murdoch because this letter didn't exist. Now we have the letter. He says the signature is not his, but it matches every signature recently and from that same time period. Donald Trump has photos nonstop coming out of him and Epstein laughing about buying women from each other. That's one of the photos in the Wall Street Journal piece today, is Epstein with a check from Trump. And it says that it's for Trump buying a girl from him because Epstein was done with her. Is that because of her age? Because they use them in whatever perverted and disgusting way that they describe that? It is disgusting what is happening right now. And it's why Trump took to Truth Social to try to distract, and MAGA was having it. Donald Trump, for no reason whatsoever, wrote on Truth Social, "Congratulations to Nick Bosa on an unbelievable play in the San Francisco 49ers win over Seattle. He was born to be a star, President DJT." The responses were swift and they were mean, with one MAGA user of Truth Social writing, "Child predator." Another with a meme saying, drip, 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 release your pals' unredacted files now. The final and worst post of them all that we're going to check out was, shut up, you disgusting pedophile. We voted for you. Our family will never vote Republican again. The door is being closed on Donald Trump and some of his most loyal supporters. Now, I am not going to say, I would never say, that the cult will finally come out of it because of this. It's not going to happen. But a large percentage, even a small percentage, of MAGA coming to terms with the fact that Donald Trump is and always has been a predator, that Donald Trump is and always has been a criminal, that Donald Trump was best buddies with Jeffrey Epstein, is a huge blow to his presidency and a huge blow towards any popular sentiment towards Donald Trump. This is the inescapable scandal that they will never be able to get away from. And the big problem that Trump deals with now is not even just him. It is Congress. We know that Donald Trump doesn't care about what happens to anyone besides himself, right? But he does need MAGA to maintain a majority in the House and the Senate if he wants to continue on his authoritarian run. If he wants to try to steal another term as president, he needs that control of Congress. That's not happening right now. At the current rate of things, even if Donald Trump tries to steal and successfully steals 20 seats in the midterms, they're going to get blown out by such historic margins. That won't be enough. And so Donald Trump right now is worried about the discharge petition from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna that would have every single member of the House of Representatives vote on an up or down vote if they want to release the Epstein files. Now you tell me, does Donald Trump want any of those Republicans saying that they're willing to release the Epstein files? Of course not. So we're going to see almost every Republican in Congress, with the exception of a select few, say no, we're not releasing these files. And this politically toxic issue will latch onto the already politically toxic party that is the GOP and sink them in the midterms, effectively ending Donald Trump's term as president. That is a brutal, irrecoverable blow, and that is what he is staring down. And we know that because the polling just keeps getting worse.
Say free! You say BC! Free! 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 Free!
Major protests continue against Donald Trump. We've seen more sustained protests against the first year here of this term than most modern presidents. And yet, at the same time, some of the things that Donald Trump is doing and seizing powers for are still getting backed up by the Supreme Court, which has so many Republican members. The rulings that we're seeing are against this backlash. Massive crowds in D.C., one church ringing its bells in solidarity. Democrats staging a sit-in, meanwhile, in Missouri at the Capitol. At the U.S. Open, Donald Trump attended, the first president to do so in over 20 years, and there was clearly a mixed reaction that included audible boos. That's just one indicator from sports. Meanwhile, on the streets of Chicago, we saw signs against ICE and Trump's crackdown. An aerial view here of the protests about Trump sending in more federal troops. One sign said Trump must go now. You could see that hovering in the crowd. The Democratic governor speaking out.
It's, I believe, a nefarious plan. It's one that's been repeated over and over again by, well, tyrannical dictatorships across history, where you try to incite local population into some mayhem by sending in police or other disruptors, and then claim that there's too much mayhem on the ground, and therefore there must be troops that are sent in.
The Democrat there speaking to Jen Psaki and explaining his view of why this is nefarious. Now, there is legitimate ways to enforce immigration laws. Many countries do that. But whether this is an effort at a kind of scare tactics with ICE agents emboldened will continue under the Supreme Court, which has gone out of its way to help Trump even as he tests new powers. Just today, the Supreme Court said ICE can actually continue roving raids that had been challenged and paused by lower courts. Part of this includes what is basically the targeting of individuals based on appearance, what amounts to a type of racial profiling, no matter how you debate the wording, which usually, I want to tell you, is unconstitutional. In a 6-3 opinion, though, the court said that ICE can continue to do that for now and also allowed Trump to oust an FTC commissioner, despite a federal law that prohibits presidents from doing that without cause. You take it together and you actually see something pretty rare, which is sustained street protests against a president who doesn't have any kind of good approval. He's underwater. Most people oppose him in what he's doing, even though he won an election. And yet the court is going out of its way, sometimes on a fast or emergency basis, to help the unpopular president with new powers that, remember, this MAGA court did not extend when there were Democrats in the White House. Here is Trump appointee Barrett discussing why she still doesn't think we're close to a constitutional crisis.
How will we know if we're in a constitutional crisis as American citizens? Like, what would that look like?
Well, look, I think the Constitution is alive and well, and I think that I don't know what a constitutional crisis would look like. I don't think that we are currently in a constitutional crisis.
Justices are known more for their writing than speaking extemporaneously, and that's perfectly fine. As a matter of rhetoric, if you don't know what something looks like, then how would you know if you're in it? And maybe we should all be pretty concerned about how to define the constitutional crisis if it comes so we can face it. It would certainly involve a president openly agitating to stay in office past their constitutional limits.
Democrats have a unique opportunity, not just to defeat Donald Trump in the midterms, but change the way that people perceive us on so many policies, on crime, on immigration, on the issue of affordability, the defining issue of the last election. We can talk about Donald Trump's failures, talk about our policy goals, not just make this a referendum on Trump, but give an aspirational view of what Democrats can be. That is what candidates like Graham Plattner in Maine, Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan are doing right now. And that's exactly what we need more Democrats doing across the country. We're going to continue to cover that on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.